Imagine if every decision you made came from a place of deep clarity, where the noise of the world couldn't shake you and your mind felt like a calm, steady lake. In a world drowning in distractions and endless opinions, true clarity has become rare and priceless. Most people move through life reacting rather than thinking, overwhelmed by the flood of information that pulls them in 100 different directions. But there is another way, a way to cut through the chaos and sharpen your focus so that you can see life with crystal clear vision. Today, we are exploring 6 powerful Buddhist principles that can transform your mind, helping you to think with purpose, see with depth, and live with peace. These are not just abstract concepts. They are tools that can shape how you experience life. With them, you can train your mind to rise above confusion and operate from a place of wisdom, free from unnecessary stress and self-doubt. The first principle is to cut through the noise. Every day, our minds are bombarded with information, emails, notifications, news, social media, opinions from others. This constant influx creates mental fog, making it difficult to think clearly. Buddhism emphasizes the practice of mindfulness, the ability to bring full attention to the present moment and filter out distractions. Imagine each thought as a ripple on a still pond. When thoughts are few and far between, the water remains calm, allowing you to see clearly to the bottom. But when countless thoughts rush in, the water becomes turbulent, making it impossible to see. The practice of mindfulness is about reducing these ripples, bringing you back to clarity. It starts with small habits, focusing on your breath, observing your surroundings without judgment, or simply bringing awareness to your thoughts. When your mind is still and focused, thinking clearly becomes a natural outcome, allowing you to respond to life's challenges with a calm and centered mind. This does not mean you ignore problems, but rather that you deal with them with precision and presence, rather than panic and distraction. The second principle is to master the power of detachment. Buddhism teaches that attachment to outcomes, desires, and expectations clouds our thinking. When we are attached, we make decisions out of fear, frustration, or impatience rather than wisdom. Detachment is not about giving up. It is about freeing yourself from the grip of rigid expectations. Think about how often people become emotionally entangled in their goals. They want success so badly that every small setback feels like a crushing failure. They want to be loved so deeply that they cling to relationships, suffocating them. They want a certain future so desperately that they become blind to the opportunities unfolding in the present. This kind of attachment distorts perception and leads to impulsive decisions. Now, imagine stepping back from that need for control. Imagine being able to approach every challenge with a calm, rational perspective, unburdened by the fear of failure. Detachment helps you take off the tinted glasses that distort reality, allowing you to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. When you release attachment, you free your mind from emotional bias, making room for wisdom and discernment to guide your choices. The third principle is to simplify complex thoughts. Our minds have a tendency to overcomplicate problems, creating an intricate web of thoughts that can feel overwhelming. We overthink, analyze, and dissect situations until we feel paralyzed by indecision. But Buddhism teaches the beauty of simplicity, an approach that cuts through mental clutter and allows for clear thinking. Simplicity in thought means breaking down complex problems into smaller, manageable steps. Imagine standing in front of a large, daunting mountain. If you focus on the entire journey, it may feel impossible, but if you take it one step at a time, the challenge becomes manageable. This applies to everything in life. Instead of letting problems overwhelm you, simplify them. Focus on the next small action rather than the entire picture. This not only makes problems easier to solve, but also reduces anxiety. By focusing on one piece at a time, your mind becomes more centered, allowing you to think with greater clarity and precision. The less mental clutter you carry, the more clearly you can see the truth of any situation. The fourth principle is to question your assumptions. Many of the beliefs that shape our thoughts and emotions are things we have never truly examined. We inherit them from society, family, and past experiences, but we rarely pause to ask, is this belief really true? Does this way of thinking serve me? For example, if you carry the belief that I am not good enough, how does that shape your decisions? If you believe that people cannot be trusted, how does that affect your relationships? These beliefs operate in the background of your mind, influencing your reactions and shaping your reality without you even realizing it. Clear thinking requires self-inquiry. When you find yourself reacting strongly to something, pause and ask, why do I believe this? Where did this belief come from? You may discover that certain ideas you hold are not your own, but are inherited from others. Maybe you believe success requires sacrificing happiness because you grew up around people who lived that way. Maybe you believe vulnerability is weakness because you were taught to hide your emotions. But are these beliefs truly yours? Do they align with the life you want to create? By questioning assumptions, you open yourself to new perspectives. You gain the freedom to let go of outdated beliefs that no longer serve you, replacing them with a mindset that is flexible, open, and aligned with your true self. The ability to challenge your own thinking is one of the most powerful tools for mental clarity. The fifth principle is to embrace delayed judgment. In today's world, we are often encouraged to act quickly, to form opinions instantly, to react before we fully understand a situation. But wisdom is born from patience. Buddhism teaches that true discernment comes from observing without rushing to conclusions. Imagine a situation where a co-worker acts cold toward you. Your initial reaction might be to assume they dislike you or that you did something wrong. But what if they were simply having a bad day? What if they were dealing with personal struggles you knew nothing about? By delaying judgment, you give yourself the space to gather more information before reacting. This principle is particularly powerful in emotional situations. When anger, frustration, or sadness arises, pause before acting. Give yourself time to let the emotions settle. Think of your mind as a cup of muddy water. If you keep stirring it, the water stays cloudy. But if you allow it to settle, the mud sinks and the water becomes clear again. The same applies to your thoughts. When you wait, clarity emerges. The sixth and final principle is to strengthen your mental filter. In a world filled with constant information, opinions, and distractions, your mind can easily become cluttered. If you are not intentional about what you allow into your mind, negativity and noise will take over. Think of your mind as a garden. If you do not choose what to plant, weeds will grow by default. Mental filters help you decide what to focus on and what to ignore. If you are constantly exposed to negative news, toxic people, or mindless distractions, they will shape your thoughts. But if you are mindful of what you consume, choosing books, conversations, and experiences that uplift you, you create a mental environment where clarity and peace can flourish. This also applies to self-talk. Many people carry an inner voice that is critical, judgmental, and discouraging. But Buddhism teaches that we do not have to accept this voice as truth. Instead, we can filter out negative self-talk and replace it with thoughts that are constructive and empowering. Strengthening your mental filter means choosing what to allow into your mind and what to let go of. By practicing these 6 principles, you cultivate a mind that is clear, focused, and unshakable. The world will always be filled with distractions and noise. But when you master your own thoughts, external chaos loses its power over you. And when your mind is clear, your path in life becomes clear as well. The mind is a powerful instrument, but without discipline, it can become a source of confusion and suffering. Thoughts race endlessly, emotions pull in different directions, and external influences cloud judgment. This is why mental clarity is not something that happens by chance. It is something that must be cultivated with intention. Buddhism offers a path to this clarity, teaching us how to sharpen our focus, silence mental noise, and see life as it truly is. One of the greatest obstacles to clear thinking is emotional turbulence. When emotions take over, logic and wisdom are easily lost. Have you ever made a decision in anger only to regret it later, or allowed fear to hold you back, only to realize later that your worries were unfounded? This happens because strong emotions distort perception, making problems seem bigger than they are and solutions harder to see. Buddhism teaches the importance of emotional awareness, understanding that emotions are temporary, passing like clouds in the sky. Instead of being swept away by them, we can learn to observe them with detachment. When anger arises, instead of reacting, pause. Feel the emotion, acknowledge it, but do not let it control you. When fear arises, instead of withdrawing, investigate it. Is this fear based on reality or on assumptions? By creating space between yourself and your emotions, you regain control over your mind. A powerful technique for managing emotions is conscious breathing. The breath is always with us, and it serves as a bridge between the mind and body. When you feel overwhelmed, take a deep breath. Inhale slowly, hold for a moment, then exhale fully. Repeat this process, allowing the breath to anchor you in the present moment. This simple act calms the nervous system, clears mental fog, and restores balance. Another key principle in Buddhism is the impermanence of thoughts. Just as emotions come and go, so do thoughts. The problem is that most people treat their thoughts as absolute truths. If the mind says, "I will fail," they believe it. If it says, "I am not good enough," they accept it without question. But thoughts are not reality. They are just mental habits. Imagine a radio station playing in the background. Some songs are pleasant, some are irritating, but you do not have to listen to every song. You have the power to change the station or turn off the noise. Your thoughts function in the same way. Just because a thought appears does not mean you have to entertain it. Observe it, question it, and if it does not serve you, let it go. One of the simplest yet most profound Buddhist practices is the labeling of thoughts. The next time you notice a negative thought, do not react emotionally. Instead, label it. This is doubt. This is fear. This is judgment. By labeling your thoughts, you create distance between yourself and them. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of them. And when you step into the role of the observer, your mind becomes clearer and you regain control over your mental state. Another common mental trap is the illusion of certainty. The human mind craves certainty, but life is inherently uncertain. We try to predict the future, control outcomes, and create a sense of security. But Buddhism teaches that clinging to certainty only creates more suffering. True clarity comes from embracing uncertainty with an open mind. Think about how much time people waste worrying about things they cannot control. They fear failure before even trying. They assume the worst before knowing the full picture. They resist change, even when change is necessary for growth. But what if instead of fearing the unknown, you embraced it? What if, instead of trying to control everything, you focused only on what is within your power? The key to clarity is learning to live with uncertainty without fear. Accept that you do not have to have all the answers. Accept that you do not need to control every outcome. Accept that life unfolds in ways you cannot always predict. When you stop fighting uncertainty, you create space for insight, creativity, and peace. Another principle that leads to a clear mind is reducing mental clutter. Just as a cluttered room makes it difficult to find what you need, a cluttered mind makes it difficult to think clearly. Many people carry around unnecessary thoughts, resentments, regrets, grudges, and worries that serve no purpose other than to weigh them down. Buddhism teaches that holding on to mental clutter is like carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go. The longer you carry it, the more exhausting life becomes, but at any moment you have the power to set it down. This is the practice of letting go. Letting go does not mean ignoring problems or pretending difficulties do not exist. It means recognizing what is within your control and releasing what is not. It means forgiving past mistakes, both your own and those of others. It means understanding that dwelling on problems does not solve them, taking action does. The more you let go of mental baggage, the more space you create for clear thinking. One of the simplest ways to declutter the mind is through the practice of stillness. In the modern world, people are constantly moving, physically and mentally. They jump from one task to another, from one thought to the next, never pausing long enough to reflect. But clarity arises in stillness. When you slow down, when you allow silence into your day, your thoughts begin to settle, and answers that once seemed elusive become clear. Try sitting in silence for just a few minutes each day. No distractions, no phones, no conversations, just you and your breath. At first, the mind may resist, filling the silence with random thoughts. But over time, stillness becomes a sanctuary, a place where you can reconnect with yourself. In that silence, clarity is born. Another essential practice for a clear mind is choosing your influences wisely. The mind is like a sponge. It absorbs whatever it is exposed to. If you surround yourself with negativity, gossip, and meaningless distractions, your thoughts will reflect that. But if you expose yourself to wisdom, meaningful conversations, and uplifting ideas, your thoughts will elevate. Be mindful of the people you spend time with, the information you consume, and the conversations you engage in. Ask yourself, does this nourish my mind or clutter it? The more intentional you are with your influences, the clearer your thinking becomes. Lastly, aligning your actions with your values is one of the most powerful ways to create mental clarity. Many people experience inner conflict because their actions do not align with their true selves. They chase success, but neglect what truly matters to them. They seek approval from others while ignoring their own voice. This creates a sense of confusion and dissatisfaction. Buddhism teaches that inner peace comes from living with integrity, aligning your thoughts, words, and actions with your deepest values. When you live authentically, mental conflict disappears. You no longer waste energy trying to be someone you are not. Instead, your mind becomes clear, focused, and at peace. Imagine waking up every day knowing exactly who you are and what you stand for. Imagine making decisions without doubt, moving through life with confidence and clarity. This is the result of living in alignment with your truth. The path to a clear mind is not complicated. It is not about adding more, it is about removing what is unnecessary. Less worry, less attachment, less distraction, and in that space clarity naturally arises. When your mind is clear, your path is clear. You begin to see life with fresh eyes, to make decisions with wisdom, and to navigate challenges with ease. This is not just a philosophy, it is a way of life. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. The journey to mental clarity is not about changing who you are, it is about uncovering who you have always been. And when you achieve that, nothing in this world can shake you. The mind, when left untrained, is like an untamed river, flowing in all directions, sometimes peaceful, sometimes turbulent, but always restless. Most people live their entire lives caught in this current, being pulled by thoughts, emotions, and external events, without realizing they have the power to redirect their course. But through discipline, awareness, and wisdom, the mind can be shaped into something far greater, something unshakable, clear, and deeply powerful. Buddhism teaches that true clarity is not about eliminating all thoughts, nor is it about avoiding emotions. Rather, it is about understanding their nature, recognizing their impermanence, and learning to navigate them with wisdom. A person with a clear mind does not suppress their emotions, but neither are they controlled by them. They observe, they reflect, and they choose their responses with precision. One of the greatest obstacles to clarity is mental resistance. The mind naturally resists discomfort, whether it comes from uncertainty, failure, or change. When something doesn't go as expected, the mind pushes back, wishing things were different, replaying past events, or worrying about the future. But this resistance only creates suffering. Imagine holding onto a rope tightly while someone pulls it from the other end. The harder you grip, the more painful it becomes. But if you simply let go, the struggle ends instantly. This is how resistance works. The more you fight against reality, the more suffering you create. The moment you accept things as they are, your mind becomes lighter, clearer, and free to move forward. This does not mean you give up or become passive. Acceptance does not mean inaction. It means seeing reality as it is so that you can respond effectively. If you fail at something, instead of resisting the failure, accept it, learn from it, adapt, move forward. If someone treats you unfairly, instead of resisting the pain, acknowledge it, process it, then let it go rather than allowing it to occupy space in your mind. Another key to clarity is avoiding the trap of over-identification with thoughts. Many people make the mistake of believing they are their thoughts. If a negative thought arises, they assume it must be true. If a fear appears, they assume it must be real. But thoughts are not facts. They are simply mental events passing through the mind. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a sky, and thoughts are like clouds. Some are light and fleeting, others are dark and heavy, but none of them are permanent. When you learn to observe thoughts instead of being consumed by them, they lose their grip on you. The next time a negative thought arises, instead of reacting emotionally, take a step back and simply notice it. Say to yourself, "This is just a thought." Let it pass like a cloud drifting across the sky. A powerful practice for this is mindful observation. Set aside a few minutes each day to sit quietly and watch your thoughts. Do not try to change them or suppress them. Simply observe. Notice how they arise, how they change, and how they fade. With practice, you will begin to see that thoughts are just passing events, not absolute truths. This realization gives you incredible freedom. You no longer have to believe or act upon every thought that enters your mind. Another essential aspect of a clear mind is breaking free from repetitive mental patterns. Many people experience the same thoughts over and over, self-doubt, worry, regret, without realizing they are trapped in a loop. These repetitive thoughts create a mental prison, reinforcing negative beliefs and clouding perception. To break free, you must first recognize these patterns. Ask yourself, what thoughts keep repeating in my mind? What beliefs do I hold that may not be true? Once you identify them, challenge them. If your mind says, "I am not good enough," ask, "Is this actually true? What evidence do I have that contradicts this?" If your mind says, "I will never succeed," ask, "Have I not overcome difficulties before?" By questioning these patterns, you weaken their hold over you. Another method is conscious redirection. If you catch yourself stuck in a loop of negative thinking, consciously shift your focus. Instead of dwelling on the problem, direct your attention to something constructive, a solution, a lesson, or an action you can take. The mind follows where attention goes. If you continually feed it negativity, it will stay trapped. But if you redirect it to something productive, it will begin to shift. Buddhism also emphasizes the importance of mental discipline. Just as physical fitness requires regular exercise, mental clarity requires daily training. Without discipline, the mind drifts aimlessly, reacting to every distraction, every emotion, every external influence. But with discipline, the mind becomes focused, controlled, and deeply powerful. One of the best ways to cultivate discipline is through meditative focus. Meditation is not about emptying the mind. It is about strengthening your ability to focus. When you sit in meditation, you train your mind to return to a single point of awareness, whether it be your breath, a mantra, or a visualization. Each time your mind wanders, you gently bring it back. This simple practice, repeated over time, strengthens your ability to concentrate and remain present. This discipline extends beyond meditation into daily life. When working, train yourself to focus fully on the task at hand. When listening to someone, practice giving them your undivided attention. When making decisions, take the time to think clearly rather than acting impulsively. The more you train your mind in small moments, the stronger it becomes in all areas of life. Another powerful Buddhist teaching is the practice of mental spaciousness. Most people's minds are overcrowded, filled with unnecessary worries, regrets, distractions, and judgments. But clarity comes when there is space. Imagine a room packed with clutter. There is no room to move, no air to breathe. But when you remove the excess, the space feels open and light. The same is true for the mind. You create mental spaciousness by letting go of what no longer serves you. Ask yourself, what thoughts, worries, or habits am I holding on to that I no longer need? Maybe it's an old regret, a past resentment, or a fear that no longer has any purpose. The moment you decide to release them, your mind becomes lighter, clearer, and more free. This spaciousness also allows for deeper insights to arise. When the mind is cluttered, it is difficult to see solutions, recognize opportunities, or tap into creativity. But when there is space, wisdom emerges naturally. This is why many great insights come in moments of stillness, when walking in nature, when sitting quietly, when simply being present. In these moments, the mind is free to see clearly. The final key to mental clarity is living in alignment with your truth. Many people feel mentally scattered because they are living in conflict with themselves. They pursue goals they do not truly care about. They say yes when they mean no. They suppress their true thoughts and emotions to fit societal expectations. This inner conflict creates confusion and drains mental energy. Buddhism teaches that inner peace comes from congruence, when your thoughts, words, and actions are in harmony. When you are true to yourself, clarity follows effortlessly. There is no longer a need to overthink decisions because you are guided by a deep sense of knowing. You stop seeking external validation because you are at peace with who you are. The journey to mental clarity is a journey inward. It is not about adding more knowledge, more achievements, or more control. It is about removing what is unnecessary, simplifying the mind, and seeing life as it truly is. And once you do, you will experience a level of clarity, focus, and peace that no external force can take away. You will no longer be lost in overthinking, no longer consumed by worry, no longer at the mercy of every passing emotion. Instead, you will move through life with confidence, making decisions with wisdom, responding to challenges with calm, and experiencing the world with a sense of presence and purpose. This is the power of a clear mind. And once you attain it, your entire life transforms. Clarity is not found in the absence of challenges, but in the way we navigate them. A mind that is constantly reacting, distracted, or controlled by emotions will always struggle to see the truth. But a mind that is trained, disciplined, and focused will see through illusion, cut through confusion, and remain steady even in the face of uncertainty. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a mirror. When the mirror is covered in dust, negative thoughts, fear, worry, and external noise, it cannot reflect reality clearly. But when the dust is wiped away through mindfulness, self-awareness, and inner stillness, the mirror reveals life exactly as it is. This clarity allows you to think deeply, make wise decisions, and move forward with confidence rather than hesitation. One of the most important lessons in cultivating a clear mind is learning how to detach from external influences. The modern world is filled with distractions, social media, endless opinions, advertisements, and constant noise. Every day, you are bombarded with messages telling you what to think, what to desire, and how to live. But if you are not careful, these external influences will shape your mind in ways you do not even realize. A person who lacks mental clarity is like a boat being tossed in a storm, pushed in different directions by external forces. One moment, they chase one desire, and the next moment, they chase another. They seek approval from others, constantly compare themselves, and allow outside voices to dictate their self-worth. But a person with a clear mind is like a captain steering their own ship. They remain focused, unaffected by the waves, and true to their own course. To develop this level of clarity, you must take control of your mental environment. Be mindful of what you allow into your mind. Ask yourself, is this information helping me grow, or is it filling my mind with unnecessary noise? If something does not serve you, let it go. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means filtering out what is irrelevant so that your mind remains focused on what truly matters. Another essential practice in achieving clarity is embracing stillness. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. They constantly seek distractions, filling every moment with entertainment, conversations, or busy work. But clarity does not arise from noise, it arises from stillness. Imagine a glass of muddy water. If you keep shaking it, the mud will remain stirred, making it impossible to see through. But if you set the glass down and let it rest, the mud settles and the water becomes clear. The same happens with the mind. When you allow yourself moments of stillness, your thoughts settle and clarity emerges naturally. This is why meditation is so powerful. It is not just a practice of relaxation. It is a method of sharpening the mind. When you sit in stillness, even for a few minutes a day, you train yourself to step back from mental clutter and see life with fresh eyes. Over time, this ability extends beyond meditation into daily life. You begin to approach problems with a calm and steady mind, no longer overwhelmed by distractions or fleeting emotions. Another key to mental clarity is learning to recognize and let go of illusions. The mind often creates illusions, false stories about who we are, what we are capable of, and what life should be. These illusions come from past experiences, societal conditioning, and deeply ingrained fears. If left unchallenged, they become self-imposed limitations that prevent us from seeing the truth. For example, many people believe they are not smart enough, talented enough, or worthy enough to achieve their goals. But where do these beliefs come from? Most of the time, they are not based on reality, but on past conditioning. Things people told them, experiences that made them doubt themselves, or comparisons to others. But Buddhism teaches that these self-imposed beliefs are illusions. They are not who you truly are. To break free, you must become an investigator of your own mind. When a limiting thought arises, question it. Is this true? What evidence do I have to support this? What evidence do I have that contradicts it? The more you challenge these illusions, the weaker they become. And as they dissolve, clarity replaces confusion, and you begin to see your true potential. Another Buddhist principle that enhances clarity is understanding the nature of impermanence. Everything in life is constantly changing. Situations, emotions, thoughts, and even relationships. But most suffering comes from resisting this change. People cling to things as if they are permanent, only to experience disappointment when they change. If you believe that happiness is dependent on a specific outcome, you will always live in uncertainty. If you attach your self-worth to external validation, you will always be chasing approval. But when you accept impermanence, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. You no longer hold on to things too tightly, and in doing so, you allow life to flow naturally. Understanding impermanence also helps you deal with uncertainty. Many people become paralyzed by fear because they want guarantees before they take action. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect level of confidence, but perfection never comes. The only certainty in life is uncertainty. Instead of fearing it, embrace it. Buddhism teaches that clarity does not come from eliminating uncertainty, but from learning to act despite it. When you realize that nothing is permanent and that change is inevitable, you stop fearing the unknown. You develop trust, not in external circumstances, but in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. One of the greatest tools for maintaining clarity is detachment from results. Most people attach their happiness to outcomes. If they succeed, they are happy. If they fail, they suffer. But this creates an unstable mind, one that is constantly thrown off balance by external circumstances. Buddhism teaches that the key to inner peace is to focus on the effort, not the outcome. Imagine planting a tree. You water it, give it sunlight, and care for it. But whether it grows quickly, slowly, or not at all is beyond your control. Your role is to nurture it, not to force it to grow. The same applies to life. Focus on doing your best in every situation, but do not attach your self-worth to the result. When you detach from outcomes, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and gain the clarity to act with wisdom rather than desperation. Another principle that sharpens the mind is being fully present. Many people struggle with clarity because their minds are scattered. They are either dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. But true wisdom arises in the present moment. When you eat, truly taste your food. When you listen, give your full attention. When you work, focus entirely on the task at hand. The more present you are, the clearer your mind becomes. Distractions fade, unnecessary worries dissolve, and you begin to experience life fully rather than through a fog of overthinking. Living with clarity does not mean having all the answers. It means trusting yourself enough to make decisions without fear. It means stepping back from distractions, filtering out unnecessary noise, and aligning your mind with what truly matters. It means seeing life not through the lens of illusion, but through the sharp focus of wisdom. A clear mind is not something you are born with, it is something you train. And as you train it, you will begin to notice something incredible. Life becomes lighter, decisions become easier, fear loses its grip, and you move through the world with a deep sense of confidence, knowing that no matter what happens, you have the clarity to handle it. The greatest power you have is your ability to master your own mind. And when you do, no obstacle, no challenge, no uncertainty can shake you. Because a clear mind is an unshakable mind. A clear mind is a powerful mind. It is not easily shaken by uncertainty, nor does it waver in the face of fear. It does not cling to past mistakes or become paralyzed by the future. Instead, it remains steady, fully present, and deeply aware. This level of clarity is not something that comes by chance. It is cultivated through discipline, mindfulness, and the ability to let go of what no longer serves you. Buddhism teaches that mental freedom begins when we stop clinging. Most people suffer because they hold on to things too tightly: expectations, beliefs, identities, and past regrets. But clarity comes when we learn to release what is unnecessary, allowing space for new wisdom and insight to emerge. The mind, like a cluttered room, must be cleared before it can function at its highest potential. One of the greatest sources of mental fog is over-identification with the self. Many people believe they are defined by their past mistakes, their titles, or how others perceive them. But Buddhism teaches that the self is not fixed. It is fluid, ever-changing. The person you were 5 years ago is not the same person you are today, and the person you are today will not be the same in the future. When you cling to a fixed identity, whether it's based on past failures, societal labels, or external validation, you trap yourself in a mental box. But when you let go of rigid definitions, you allow yourself the freedom to grow. Ask yourself, who would I be if I were not limited by my past? What could I achieve if I did not define myself by my fears?